Believe that we are live, and I have been waiting all day for this. Legitimately all day. We are getting a real money fantasy football draft underway now. I understand, yes, it's very early, but you know I am a psychopath. You know that there is nobody on this planet that enjoys fantasy football half as much as I do. And we already have this draft field that's going to get kicked off very shortly. We just pulled the 109. Honestly, this year's a little bit different with where you're wanting to be drafting. The 109, in my opinion, is not a bad spot at all. I mean, I think that if you're looking at some of the players that you're getting at the 104 through the 112, there's a very flat tier this year. It's not like last year where, if you remembered, I mean, if you got the 101, we were jumping up and down with joy. I was dancing in this room when we pulled the 101 when we got Christian McCaffrey. Of course, that ended up not working out. Maybe I'm underrating the 101 this year because of so. But yeah, no, it's just a completely different situation this season. So I'm fine with us getting the 109. I'm assuming we're going to get Jonathan Taylor, as always, off the board at the 101. I mean, we've done a decent amount of drafts this year, especially with the people a part of this channel, a part of the flock. So of course, thank you for everybody who's hopping in this draft with us. Let me go through and pull up the live chat as well. This should only take about a second. It looks like we already have about 50 people in here. Thank you, of course, for everybody coming in. You have Christian McCaffrey falling to 3, Cooper Kupp going at the 102. I understand it. You're going to see that in these underdog drafts, wide receivers, they go off the board early. I mean, if you are boxed out of the wide receiver position, it is a very difficult spot to be in. But yeah, we got Lukey, Dylan, Ethan, Ashton, Ambiguity, Ethan, Longshaft, Thomas, JN, Dylan, Walter, and Chimichanga all out in the draft. Thank you all so much, of course, for coming out. We have Austin Eckler at the 104. I love me some Austin Eckler at the 104. I mean, as of today, it looks like Derrick Henry is going to be going in the majority of drafts at that 4th pick overall. I personally can't get there. I'm expecting that Austin Eckler's production is a lot more sustainable as you get into those older ages. I don't think Derrick Henry is going to continue to be able to handle 350 plus touches every single year whenever he's 28, 29 years old. With Austin Eckler, he's going to be playing in a better offense with more upside for touchdown opportunities, trips to the red zone, sustained drives, which is what we're looking for. Henry at the 106, 107, 108, I'm fine with. I know we made a video of me talking about Derrick Henry being an overrated player previously, but that's mainly when he was going at the 104 ahead of those other options. Okay, so now we are on the clock, and I know we're probably reaching. Trust me, I get it. I know we're definitely reaching. I'll say that. We're going running back here. I'm not taking Adams. I'm not taking Tyreek Hill. I mean, once they're moving on from Rodgers and Mahomes, I can't get behind it. I know we're reaching. Trust me, guys. I get it. Javonte Williams, the 109. This is a player that I was saying was going to break out last year. It did not happen here with Javonte Williams, but it looks like Melvin Gordon is pretty much guaranteed to be out of this situation in Denver. And not only is Melvin Gordon guaranteed to be out of here, which if you look at the production of Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams last season, if Javonte Williams gets 75% of that, he's a running back 1 in fantasy. But on top of this, speaking of the overall offensive environment we can find these players in, I'm expecting that the Denver Broncos offense will be drastically improved with Russell Wilson coming over, more sustained drives, more trips to the red zone, more opportunities for touchdowns. So we're going to go Javonte Williams at the 109. Zach says he missed getting in the draft because he had to update Underdog. I'm sorry, my man. I promise you, we are going to get another one of these going the second that NFL draft ends. You know, I'll be excited to look at the differences before and after the NFL draft. Let me slide this down here so everybody can see this. Dylan says Kelsey in the first question mark. I get it. I don't necessarily think that you can go wrong with Kelsey, Adams Hill. If you had Devontae Adams in Green Bay still with Rodgers, where he was going to be able to get 32% of his team's target share, I'm taking Devontae Adams at the 109 every single time. I mean, I was taking Devontae Adams at the 103 last year, but it's because his target competition was Marquez Valdez-Scantling as well as Allen Lazard. That's what he was going up against, and he had Aaron Rodgers throwing in the ball. This year, it's a little bit different when you have Darren Waller. I'm not even a big Hunter Renfrow fan, but he's definitely an upgrade over someone like Allen Lazard. Going over to a new offense, another year older, a downgrade at quarterback, even though Derek Carr is good. I can't get behind taking Devontae Adams over someone like Javonte Williams. this year. I would love to know your opinion on this, though. We are 2 to 3 picks away. I see that we have 15 likes in the live stream. Of course, thank you so much for everybody who's gone down there and dropped a like in the stream. Okay, Joe Mixon goes to the 202. I would have been taking Joe Mixon if he made it to us in the second round. Honestly, I think I can end up ranking Joe Mixon over Javonte Williams this season, but because we're going to be drafting over 200 of these real money fantasy football teams, I can't just ignore ADP. So if Javonte Williams has an ADP significantly higher than Joe Mixon, probably have to go Javonte Williams when they're both available, and I can potentially get Joe Mixon in the second round, making it back to us in some drafts. Okay, so now we are back up on the clock. I think we're going to go Kamara again. I know people are worried that Alvin Kamara is going to miss time. And I will say, obviously, Kamara is not in nearly as good of a situation this year as he has been previously. Now, you don't have Sean Payton in that offense, so we can assume that the New Orleans Saints are most likely taking a step back overall. What I like for Kamara, however, is the fact that you're getting Jameis Winston in there, and that we know Jameis Winston's not going to be Taysom Hill. He's not going to be able to really run on third down. He's not going to be able to scramble, so we can see some checkdowns to Alvin Kamara based on the stationary quarterback, similar to Drew Brees. Not going to be as high of a rate. Really not too many weapons in New Orleans either. We're going to go Kamara at the 204. I know that it's not necessarily an exciting pick. I think that our first two picks haven't set us up to have as good of a draft as what we had last time. I mean, if y'all remember our draft last time, I felt like we had absolutely crushed it. Let's see if we can bring this back around in the middle rounds. And I know that 99% of people watching this live stream, watching this video right now, already know what we're doing, have already seen us in 100+ of these drafts on this live stream. But if somehow you don't know what's going on here, this is an underdog fantasy draft. With Underdog Fantasy, you are not submitting your starting lineup at all. We're drafting this team, and you never have to look at it ever again if you don't want to. With Underdog Fantasy, you don't have the waiver wire. We're drafting 20 rounds here. There are going to be players at the very end of the draft like Dwayne Eskridge getting drafted. So what this allows for is this allows for you to go into a million real money fantasy football drafts, take some shots. I mean, they have drafts that have a little $1 million the first prize. It's like large field tournaments. You can get into 12-team drafts with your friends like this. You can get into 12-team drafts just in the public lobby. Once we get closer to the season, we're probably going to be, like I said, doing 200 of these drafts within the span of a month on the live stream. I could not be more excited about partnering with Underdog Fantasy yet again this upcoming season. And what's great is if you go use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy through the link in the live chat, the description of the video, the comment section, wherever you find it, you use promo code FLOCK, they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You'll get our 2022 rankings. You'll get our 2022 Dynasty rankings. And on top of this, you'll get our 2022 Dynasty research book. So please take advantage of that. I promise you. I promise you. The most important thing is you're going to have some fun. You're going to bring some joy to your life by signing up to Underdog Fantasy. And that's what is most important here. But I'll brag a little bit. I think those rankings are pretty damn good at the same time. And also them paying you to sign up with the deposit bonus is pretty nice as well. Okay. So now you have Nick Chubb going at the 210, DeAndre Swift at the 206. So obviously once we start this draft with Javonte Williams and Alvin Kamara, we are hoping that teams go running back. As I talked about at the beginning of the draft, on Underdog Fantasy, you're having to play 3 wide receivers every single week, and you have the flex spot. Given the best ball format, those later wide receivers are going to get pushed up draft boards as well. So if you find yourself without enough firepower at the wide receiver position, it can get ugly. It can get ugly relatively quickly. So I'm probably going to hope that running backs go off the board. Of course, if we get a couple players that we really like falling to us in the 3rd, 4th round, maybe we just go with a top heavy running back approach and attack the wide receiver position with a ton of options, not necessarily quality options, but we go quantity over quality, which is something you can do in best ball. Obviously, you can't do it when you actually have to submit your starting lineup every week. Okay, so Reagan says, what's up, Mason? I won my fantasy league last year, mostly due to your videos, waiver wire pickups, especially. Thanks, man. No, thank you so much for supporting the channel. I truly appreciate it. I mean, if you are right now in a live stream, April 25th, you were the real MVP. I'll tell you that right now. Ethan says, Mason, what do you think about the Vikings next year? I feel like the head coach will be better and a newer style. Honestly, given the contract for Kirk Cousins, it's hard to get that excited for the Minnesota Vikings. The division's not as difficult as it has been in years past. It looks like the Green Bay Packers, I don't want to go I don't want to say are going pseudo rebuild, but it looks like they're maybe taking into consideration what their overall cap situation is going to be 2 to 3 years down the line by trading Davante Adams for those draft picks instead of just going ahead and giving him that money. So it's interesting. I think the Vikings are probably a team that I'm not wanting to get too excited about, though. I mean, like, go to Miami. Look at Miami. You have Tua Tagovailoa, which I don't think Tua is as good as Kirk Cousins. But when you have him on his rookie contract, you're able to just surround him with elite level weapons all around. Party till she's hot is out here. Thank you, my dude, for stopping by. We got Mike Evans at the 306. I would have loved to see Mike Evans make it back to us. Very, very rarely are you getting Josh Allen falling this far. I will say that. There are a couple players that look like they are massive values according to ADP right now. Okay, Allen ends up going. Leonard Fournette goes as well. Ooh, okay, so do we need to go receiver? The running backs that could potentially come back around to us, Aaron Jones, David Montgomery, J.K. Dobbins. I'm just going to go Deontay Johnson. With Deontay Johnson, this is a wide receiver that I wasn't necessarily a massive fan of last year. And honestly, I think we just got it wrong because if you look at Deontay Johnson over the past 2 seasons, this is someone that's averaged damn near 10 targets a game over the past 2 years. With Ben Roethlisberger leaving, I understand a lot of people are going to be worried. I personally am not one of those people because if you're looking at Ben Roethlisberger, while yes, the pass attempts were 100% up, it's not necessarily like the deep ball was there. If you looked at the deep ball accuracy for Ben Roethlisberger this past season, it was horrendous. Like, it was atrocious what you saw from Big Ben. So I don't necessarily think that we can say all of a sudden that the quote unquote downgrade from Mitchell Trubisky is large enough for us to ignore the volume that Deontay Johnson has had over the past 2 years. Combine that with the departure of Juju Smith-Schuster. Combine that with the potential they get Kenny Pickett near the end of round 1 with pick 20. We're going to go Deontay Johnson at the 309. I think the running backs that we could see make it back to us on the way back around, they're about the same between Antonio Gibson and Aaron Jones. And we already have Javonte and Alvin Kamara. Maybe the mistake that we made was potentially going with Alvin Kamara instead of CeeDee Lamb. But Gibson goes to the 401. Let's prepare to see who we are going to be bringing. I guess David Montgomery could be fine as well. Okay, Elijah Moore, Tyler Lockett. Obviously, we're not considering Lockett. There's a player I like. I'm going to take who I prefer in this range, and then I'll talk about someone that I know most people perceive to be the value here. Akers goes to the 409. Let me look at the draft board real quick. We have Deontay Johnson. I'm not as worried about us getting boxed out of the wide receiver position, especially if we look at the teardrop off that we're about to see at running back. It's always scary doing this, but I think we go Aaron Jones and we build around 5 running backs here. We're going to go Aaron Jones here at pick 40, right in line with his ADP. If we're looking at Aaron Jones, I don't necessarily see a massive difference between him and someone like Antonio Gibson. You have Breece Hall going directly after him. I love me some Breece Hall, especially from a dynasty fantasy football perspective. I think that Breece Hall is an elite level running back coming into the NFL. If he goes round 1 to the Buffalo Bills, this selection of Aaron Jones will look horrendous. I promise you that pick will look horrendous if Breece Hall ends up going round 1. However, I think that Breece Hall ends up actually falling to round 2, potentially to a team like the New York Jets, who has multiple picks in that range. So I think we're fine taking Aaron Jones here. I think you could actually see the target rate go up as well as the red zone usage with the departure of Davante Adams. I think this team will be less efficient overall. However, maybe offsetting that, but still we've seen Aaron Jones consistently fall in line outside of when he was injured last year, splitting with A.J. Dillon, which A.J. Dillon will have a role in this team. We have seen Aaron Jones consistently put up that running back 1 production. Now, Dobbins, Montgomery, Breece Hall go off the board, 405, 406, 407. Amari Cooper would have been the wide receiver I was selecting. If we would have gone wide receiver at the 404, it would have been Amari Cooper. I'd imagine most people would actually assume that the value there would have been Michael Pittman. With Michael Pittman, big-bodied wide receiver that a lot of people want to get excited about going into year 3, especially with the addition of Matt Ryan. Personally, I guess I'm not as high on Matt Ryan as most people are. I don't see him as some massive upgrade that you can't overlook whenever we're going to be talking about someone like Pittman. I still go with Amari Cooper. I mean, with Amari Cooper, he could potentially this year have the least amount of target competition he's ever seen at the NFL level playing alongside Donovan Peoples-Jones. And on top of this with Amari Cooper, we could also say he can potentially have the best quarterback play he's ever seen in his NFL career. So I think there are some exciting measures when we're looking at Amari himself. Of course, it's never great if we're talking about the fact that essentially he got cut. Technically, he got traded for damn near nothing, but they just needed to get the dead money off the roster. And God, which is not a good sign. I think that's why we ended up going Aaron Jones. Nice for us to see Josh Jacobs. Nice for us to see Travis Etienne go off the board here. This is what we needed. 100% when we pass on Amari Cooper, this is exactly what we are looking for to happen. I don't want to say we got lucky. Maybe we read the room correctly. Pittman does go at the 501. That was in line with expectation. James Conner going at the 502 with James Conner. I mean, hell, if you're looking at the usage he had without Chase Edmonds last year, James Conner was a prototypical 3-down running back, pretty much in Ezekiel Elliott down role once Chase Edmonds went down. Now, I have to remind anybody who did not watch this channel at the beginning of last year, there was about a month stretch where every single week we were looking at James Conner averaging more touchdowns than targets out of the backfield, knowing that Kyler Murray historically has vultured those touchdowns at the goal line, and Chase Edmonds had every single target. I was saying, you know what? Time to sell high on James Conner. Time to sell high on James Conner. Time to sell high on James. And then Chase Edmonds went down and he turned into a running back 1, which we always said he would if Chase Edmonds went down. I will have a little bit of a different take this year. A little bit of a different take. Okay, but let's scroll this down here so everybody can see. Okay, Godwin goes to the 505. As I've said so many times before, this is not one of those underdog tournament drafts where you have $100,000, where you have $1 million up for first place. This is just a 12-team draft with all of us throwing in $5, so a $60 pot. And so the difference between this draft and one of those large field tournaments is this is not going to be a draft you need to be as worried about the playoffs. And I am so freaking pissed. Oh my God. They take our guy. They take Hollywood Brown. I guess we're probably going to end up going. I think we probably end up going Thomas. Obviously, with Michael Thomas as a wide receiver that has a very low floor. But if you've been watching the channel for long enough, you know that I am not as worried about the floor of these players, that I'm focused in on the potential ceiling that they could have. So yeah, we're going to go Michael Thomas as our wide receiver 2. I understand there's a lot of injury risk baked in here. We don't even know if Michael Thomas wants to play the game of football. We don't even know if he wants to be in the NFL. But I'll say, if everything was set with Michael Thomas, if you knew that he was playing every single game this upcoming year, if you knew his mind, his heart, that they were with football, where would he be going in these drafts? He would be a mid-first round pick. After his 2019 season, I mean, you saw Michael Thomas going at the 102 consistently. I don't think you'd go there based on the 3-down running backs you have at the top, based on Cooper Kupp, based on Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. But he would at least be going around this Javonte Williams range if we knew Michael Thomas was right back to it. Of course, there's a massive risk with that, but I think the risk is baked into this price where we can now take it. Jerry Jeudy, I like the pick. I mean, with Jerry Jeudy, you know what? I think we made a poor selection of Michael Thomas. I think if we are taking a step back, Jerry Jeudy's most likely the player we should have gone with, especially if we consider that we could have stacked with Russell Wilson later on, and we could have the double stack with Javonte Williams, Jerry Jeudy, and Russell Wilson to really take advantage of the overall upside that we could have with that Denver Broncos offense. So while I am fine with Michael Thomas in the 5th, I need to apologize. That was a bad pick. I think we should have gone Jerry Jeudy, but hell, that's why we're practicing with these $5 drafts throughout the season. That way, when we get closer to the year and we have those drafts that really matter, like those $250 drafts that y'all know we are going to be doing, we'll be on top of it. Okay. So let's go through and see. Devonta Smith at the 602. Are we going Mooney or Cooks? Like I said, I am slightly concerned that you could end up getting the New York Jets taking either Kenneth Walker or Breece Hall. It's unlikely, but it's still a possibility. I think we're going to go Brandon Cooks here. Yeah. If this was one of those tournament styles, 100% I'm taking a rookie. If this was one of those large field tournaments where it's $1 million to first and we really need to prioritize the fantasy football playoffs instead of just scoring the most points throughout the entire season, I'm taking Garrett Wilson here. I'm taking Drake London here. But given the format we are playing in, I think we need to adjust, and taking Cooks at the 604, I'm going to be completely fine with it. You have Dak going at the 605. Let me first mention, before we talk about Dak Prescott, how much I love this Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray pick. I mean, these are selections that truly have that elite level upside where we could see Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray turn into the quarterback one overall in fantasy. I mean, during 2019, Lamar Jackson was there. With Kyler Murray, this is a quarterback that we saw at the beginning of this past season look like he was the quarterback one, look like he was that cheat code. So we have seen it from both options at some point in their respective careers. And at the same time, if we're talking about the opportunity cost that we have with those picks, you're passing up on Brandon Cooks, Brandon Ayuk. It's not massive. So I'm completely fine going there. Once you get to Dak Prescott, I don't see Dak Prescott at this point of his career having that same level ceiling. The reason for this is with Dak Prescott, he's no longer rushing the ball. This is a quarterback that you can't project to come away with 6 rushing touchdowns. And on top of this, with the departure of Amari Cooper, I doubt that this is a Dallas Cowboys team that leads the NFL in scoring yet again. It's tough for me with Dak. This is a team here in Kickers Lives Matter that went CeeDee Lamb in the second round. So they 100% just wanted to go through and get that stack, which maybe the Dak Prescott pick is completely fine. It's just when we're comparing it to Lamar Jackson going 6 picks before, like Lamar Jackson is just a quarterback, in my opinion, that's in a completely different tier this season. Okay. Okay, so Drake London, Treylon Burks. Okay, so we have a couple of these rookie wide receivers going off the board. I will say, if we're looking at the prospect profiles of the rookie wide receivers, I probably prefer Drake London and Garrett Wilson over Treylon Burks. But the difference is those two wide receivers have no chance, and I repeat, no chance of making it to the end of round 1, where you have teams like the Packers, where you have teams like the Bills, where you have teams like the Cowboys, where you have the Kansas City Chiefs that could potentially go with a wide receiver. And obviously, those landing spots are drastically better than like the Atlanta Falcons, the Washington football team, the Philadelphia Eagles, the New Orleans Saints, where we can assume that Drake London and Garrett Wilson aren't making it past those teams. So it's interesting that Treylon Burks may be, in my opinion, a slightly, and I repeat, just slightly worse. I had him as my wide receiver one at the beginning of the offseason, but a slightly worse option. However, based on the landing spot, maybe he's the guy you want to go with. Okay, so Mark Award says Winston won a national championship, went undefeated. Okay, so I'm assuming there's a Jameis Winston argument here. Let me pull this up. Jameis Winston, I believe, was in the 2015 draft, was he not? Yeah. Or we are talking about things that happened in 2014. You can't, if we're talking about current talent, we can't be bringing up college statistics from 2014. That's just not something you can do. Okay, so Juju Smith-Schuster goes to the 703. Love me some Juju Smith-Schuster. The issue is he's just going behind Brandon Cooks significantly in these drafts. So there's a chance that we're able to take Brandon Cooks at the 604 and get Juju Smith-Schuster at the 709. So yeah, we kind of have to just understand we're drafting 200 plus teams. So we're going to have to take some players according to their ADP. Okay. So here, and I'm honestly kind of fine if wide receivers continue to go off the board. You have Courtland Sutton going at the 704, Hunter Renfrow the 7. Oh my God, I love seeing Hunter Renfrow go off the board. I am not I will probably own none of Hunter Renfrow if he's going off in the 7th round. Okay, so let's pull this down. So we are been in a massive wide receiver run. When we have 3 wide receivers, I'm kind of fine pivoting away from the position if we don't love the value. So you have Tony, Adam Thielen, Gabriel Davis, Tyler Lockett, Robert Woods, Chase Claypool, Bateman, Boyd, Kirk, Chris Olave, Rondale Moore, Corey Davis, Kenny Galladay, Jameson Williams, Odell, Michael Gallup. Yeah, looks like maybe we're not going receiver. Okay, Wackman has Josh Allen. Oh, they have to go with the wide receiver. They only have one. Their one receiver is Mike Williams. They went out there. They paid up for the elite level quarterback. Yeah, they go Robert Woods. I don't like Robert Woods as much in this format when we need points at the beginning of the season. Kicker's life matter. Goes Adam Thielen. I know we are just talking crap about Michael Carter. We probably go Carter here, though. No? Am I taking Tyler Lockett over him? You know what? I am going to take Tyler Lockett over him. The main reason is we already have those top 3 running backs. On top of this, there are just no solid receivers left. Now, of course, Tyler Lockett is a quarterback. I mean, this is a wide receiver that you are hoping gets traded because he is currently in a nasty situation. But there's the outside chance he gets traded. And also, since this is a best ball format and you just get the automatic highest scoring player every single week into that spot, Tyler Lockett could have some of those boom bust weeks that makes him more valuable in best ball. So I'm fine taking him as my wide receiver 4. Carter would have been the other option. The issue is I just think the wide receiver fall off it's happening. It's happening. We may even grab another one on the way back around because I don't want to get to the point of the draft where it could get ugly. Adam says thoughts on Gabriel Davis this year. I am personally off Gabriel Davis. Like I just took Lockett over Gabriel Davis, despite Gabriel Davis being in a situation that is unfathomably better. Like it could not be better for Gabriel Davis in Buffalo, given the fact that he looks like the second wide receiver currently on the depth chart. However, with Gabriel Davis, he had like 31 receiving yards per game this past year. And I've already talked about this with Davis. I would be fine if he was, say, parked, if he was Tyler Boyd and he was parked behind T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. We can say, okay, he has the talent. He just wasn't able to get there with it. I think okay, 1 second. I'm sorry. I think we may go Tony. Or should, the thing is, we'll go Burrow. I don't have a stack. I don't like taking quarterback in this range without one. But very rarely is Burrow making it this far. Like, if you ask me the difference between Joe Burrow and Dak Prescott, I don't necessarily see a difference between those two quarterbacks this upcoming season. Neither of them are really going to run the ball that often. Both of them have it in their range of outcomes to lead the NFL in passing. So we'll go Burrow at the 804. I didn't love the pick because we don't have Jamar Chase, because we don't have T. Higgins, but I think it's fine value, especially when we get Lockett as our 4th wide receiver there. Possibly we could have gone with a receiver. Let's see where these quarterbacks end up going off the board based on the tier drop-off I think we have at receiver after Kadarius Toney. I'd imagine that you end up getting these guys like Lance all off the board in this round as well. Jayan says, yeah, Jayan, we're going to be live streaming during the NFL draft, of course. That will probably be on the Dynasty channel. I asked Thomas what he thought of it, and Thomas said he thought it was a better idea to do it on the Dynasty channel, so I'll probably do it there. Okay, so Dylan says, why is everyone so low on Elijah Mitchell? He's a 3-down running back in Kyle Shanahan's offense. I'll say Elijah Mitchell is not a 3-down running back in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Elijah Mitchell is a very good 1st and 2nd down running back in Kyle Shanahan's offense, which historically has been one of the hardest offenses to predict the running back usage of going into every single season for God knows how long now. So I agree with you. I think he is like interesting if he's falling to the 6. Like, if you're just playing in your regular fantasy football league where you start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and a flex, there I'm taking Elijah Mitchell over these receivers. It's just difficult in best ball, given the fact that wide receivers are inherently just going to get pushed up the board. Okay, so Chase Edmonds at the 8-11. I like the Chase Edmonds pick. I mean, the Miami Dolphins, their first selection in this year's draft is pick 102. They went out there and they traded all their picks away. I mean, they went up and moved up to get Jalen Waddle last year, and then obviously went out there to go get Tyreek Hill. Okay, so Rodgers goes to the 901. We kind of want quarterbacks to go off. What could end up happening is if we get another elite quarterback falling to us here in the 9th, we could go with that quarterback and then just only draft 2. But honestly, with the quarterback values that we see later on, guys like Jared Goff, I'm honestly kind of fine just ignoring quarterback in this round and trying to draft 3 on this team. I really hope people start soaking up quarterbacks. I don't want to be drafting Trey Lance, Jalen Hurts, Russell Wilson, Justin Fields here, even though I know a couple of those guys are solid values. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you have these quarterbacks going off. You get Jalen Hurts at the 903. Start figuring out where we are going to go. Good thing we didn't go running back. Oh, he got David Njoku in the 9th over Dawson Knox, over Pat Fryman. That is a bold call there. That is bold. I think we may end up having to just do it. I don't necessarily want to. I'm not excited about it. Tom Brady goes to the 906. Corey Davis, 907. Cordell Patterson, 908. The thing is, I feel like I'm a straight up fraud if I don't take Lance. With how much I hype up Trey Lance, how can I not take him here? Even if I love the 3 quarterback build with the quarterbacks that are available to us later on. As we've always said with Trey Lance, he has the Jalen Hurts rushing upside in a much better situation. He has the Jalen Hurts rushing upside and a Kyle Shanahan offense that has George Kittle, as of now, Deebo Samuel, and Brandon Ayuk. So we're going our guy Lance at the 909. It sucks because we're passing on some valuable players at running back and receiver. But we'll see what makes it back to us. And I know there's one guy that everybody probably really likes on the board right now. Dominic says he drafted David Njoku by accident. Well, thank you, Dominic. It allowed us to slide up some players we preferred over to our picks. Okay, so Tyler Boyd at the 912. Tyler Boyd, 100% interesting in this format, especially if you were to have T. Higgins. Or I guess we should have probably gotten Boyd when we had the Joe Burrow stack. Yeah, I think we definitely overlooked that. We should have gone Tyler Boyd, especially if we could have just taken Russell Wilson the next round. Yeah, that was a bad pick by us. We can't go quarterback now. Jameson Williams goes to the 1002. Completely fine with Williams in this range. Like I said, I think you have to lower him down just a little bit based on the potential he can miss some of the start of the season. Russell Wilson goes to the 1003. Yeah, we're going to go Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We're taking our 4th running back. We're getting a little thin at receiver. But with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I need to look a little bit deeper into this. I will say he's a bad running back, 100%. I think we can say at this point, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is a bad running back. But what we have always talked about in late round running backs that we are looking for is not just straight up handcuffs. While y'all know I love me some Alexander Madison, who goes right after, which is pretty funny to say. But if we look at the league winning running backs from last year, where did they come from? They came from offenses that were elite and that were uncertain going into the season. But we knew their offenses were going to be fantastic. Who were those league winning running backs? They were Leonard Fournette and James Conner. With James Conner, remember, he was going in this range. He was going about in the 10th round last year. And people didn't know if it was Chase Edmonds or James Conner. You knew you wanted one of them because that Arizona Cardinals offense. The same thing in Tampa Bay. You didn't know if it was Ronald Jones or Leonard Fournette. But you knew you wanted one of them based on the offense that was going to just be high-powered enough to provide those red zone opportunities for those running backs and sustain drives, as we're always talking about. Clyde Edwards-Helaire falls into a similar bucket this upcoming season, where I'm not saying he's a good running back, but he is in an uncertain situation, but we know the offense will be elite. And the difference between Clyde Edwards-Helaire this year and what we have seen previously is you're not taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the first round this year. You're not taking Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the third round this year. We're taking him in the double-digit rounds. So I'm fine taking him here at the 1004. I think we took him in our last draft as well. Dylan coming out says, how's my team looking so far? I'm drafting at the 106. Also wanted to get that Brady/Evans stack. Might have reached a little. No, thank you, my man. Happy to go through, check this out. Henry at the 106. Like I said, I am personally going to be running a smear campaign against Derrick Henry if he is going ahead of CMC, ahead of Austin Eckler, like I see in a lot of other drafts. But if you're getting him at the 106, completely fine with that value. Waddle at the 207, potentially, I'm personally 100% off Jalen Waddle at this price point in particular. I'm going to prefer A.J. Brown. I prefer Mark Andrews. I prefer Nick Chubb. I would have been fine with this Jalen Waddle price point if it wasn't for Tyreek Hill coming over. I think Tyreek Hill will increase the efficiency for Waddle on a per target basis, but the chance that Jalen Waddle ever gets to 25+% of the team's target share now, slim to none. Mike Evans in the third. Love me some Mike Evans here. Dobbins in the fourth. I can get behind it, especially when we don't have a second running back. Potentially you could talk yourself into going Josh Jacobs. I think it's an interesting conversation, however, that Devontae Adams may take away some of the red zone touches for Josh Jacobs. Elijah Mitchell in the fifth. A lot of people in the chat really like that pick. Treylon Burks in the sixth. As I've already said, with Burks, it's interesting. I prefer the player in Drake London, Garrett Wilson, but I think Treylon Burks has the only realistic shot to get a good landing spot. Damian Harris in the seventh. Ooh. I guess when you get Brady in the ninth. I prefer Carter over Damian Harris. The issue with Harris is I just don't see the path for him to have that elite level ceiling without him ever getting a role in the receiving game. Like, he literally can't average a target a game sometimes. Rashad Bateman at the 807, completely fine with this Rashad Bateman selection. Love the Tom Brady pick at the 906. Getting him after guys like Jalen Hurts, Rodgers, and Watson. Clearly, this is in line with his value, and you stack him with Mike Evans. I think that's the best pick of the draft. Kenny Golladay at the 1007. I'm not out on Golladay. I know that he is definitely not being drafted this high in most drafts, but it is intriguing to say the least, and I like the stack with Tua Tagovailoa. Okay, so let me pull up our draft options real quick. Okay, we have Gesicki, Fant, Myers, Odell. We may be getting caught with our pants down. I'm assuming we're going our guy Cole Kmet. Yeah, we're going with our guy Cole Kmet. No questions about this. With Cole Kmet, I don't necessarily think he's the most talented player in the world. Y'all know I am not a Justin Fields fan. I've been the number one Justin Fields hater on YouTube for I don't know how long now, based on the common perception that people have with him, not aligning with what we've actually seen with the numbers. But with Cole Kmet, he's the second option in this offense next to Darnell Mooney. This team doesn't have a first-round pick this year. Cole Kmet's going into year 3. He had a decent target share last year. The issue is he didn't come away with a single touchdown, but he's a big-bodied tight end. Man, weighs over 260 pounds. So I'm fine, assuming that Cole Kmet can have that red zone role without Jimmy Graham. So yeah, we're going to go Cole Kmet at the 11-9. I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be happy with it. I apologize. Not just fine with it. Okay, Tannehill at the 11-12. Lawrence at the 11-11. Personally, selfishly, happy to see those quarterbacks off the board. The last thing we want to do is to see these teams just punt the quarterback position after we take 2. Okay. So let's pull this back around. And if you were new to Underdog Fantasy, it is very different being able to draft 2 elite level quarterbacks like this with Burrow and Trey Lance, knowing that you are just going to get the spike weeks between the two compared to a regular fantasy football format where you're just wanting to draft one of these guys and then work the waiver wire. Here, there's no waiver wire, so you need at least 2 quarterbacks minimum. Okay, so I do not like that Joshua Palmer pick. Ooh, please give us our guy. Give us our guy here. Come on. Give him to me. Lock him in. Lock him in. Get sent to New England, essentially, so Miami can get the contract off the books. Looking for these. Oh, Marquez Valdez. We probably should have gone Marquez Valdez-Scantling. We probably should have scrolled down the ADP list just a little bit to figure out that Marquez Valdez-Scantling was still there. Don't hate my Devontae Parker pick, but Kickers Lives Matter just crushed us with that MVS selection. Good pick, my man. Good pick. Yeah, that was a really, really good pick. I was all excited about getting Devontae Parker in New England when you can get Marquez Valdez-Scantling, someone that has a higher week-to-week ceiling attached to Patrick Mahomes. Thomas says, for once in these flock drafts, I like my team at the 108, except for the Dak pick. Yeah, the thing with the Dak pick is I don't blame you. I mean, you had CeeDee Lamb. I probably wouldn't do it. I just think that it's hard for him to get to that same level of production with the offense taking a step back. And the production last year, it wasn't close to being in the same tier as guys like Allen. Okay, Hunter Henry at the 1207. Noah Fan at the 1208. I don't really care if these tight ends go off the board once we have our guy Cole Kmet. I don't know if you know this about Cole Kmet, but he is holding it down. Holding it down. Ronald Jones goes at the 12 and 9. I like the Ronald Jones selection for the same reasons we were talking about Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't think Ronald Jones is particularly a talented running back, but what I do think with Ronald Jones is he's going to have a role on an offense that's going to be elite, and he's in a cloudy backfield where I am not expecting both Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Ronald Jones to hit. I'm not expecting that at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of them hits to an extreme that we saw last year with James Conner before Chase Edmonds went down. I'm not saying he's going to be peak James Conner from last year, but I could see it in the range of outcomes where he potentially goes out there and just is a mid running back 2 based off of touchdown volume alone. CJ Uzomah at the 12-12. I'm not a fan of that CJ Uzomah pick as well. Maybe I'm just biased against Uzomah. I didn't really like him last year. But yeah, going over to New York, especially I think New York goes wide receiver either at the beginning of the second or at the very top end of the first with pick 10. So I don't think CJ Uzomah is going to get as many targets as a lot of people are expecting. Albert O is 100% a player that I would prefer over CJ Uzomah. I mean, Uzomah, I apologize. Will Fuller at the 1303, not a pick that you're excited about in your regular fantasy football drafts, but with Will Fuller, this is a pick you can be excited about for this format in particular, when you don't have to figure out when he is going to have that spike week. Okay, so 148, Jarvis Landry. Let's figure out where we are going to be going. And here, Odell Beckham Jr. is going to be worth a lot less because just a reminder, you are not going to have this be the situation with Odell that he can just come in for your fantasy football playoffs and give you that chance for the $100,000, for the $1 million to first place. It's just not going to happen. You have to get points in your lineup starting week 1 in this format mainly. I mean, you have to get points in your lineup week 1 in the other format as well, but it's so top heavy, that price pool, that you're almost just shooting for the playoffs. Every time you draft, you have to assume that you're in the playoffs. Marvin Jones at the 1307. I like the Marvin Jones pick. Come on. There are two guys I like, but there's one guy I love. 2 guys I like, 1 guy I love. Kickers Lives Matter. Okay. I don't think I'm regretting this pick. Irv Smith Jr. God. With Irv Smith Jr., a tight end that at 21 years old led the Minnesota Vikings tight end room with Kyle Rudolph, with Conklin, Tyler Conklin there. And both tight ends are gone. Rudolph probably washed out of the NFL at this point, obviously went over to New York. But with Conklin, now he's in New York as well. He's with the New York Jets. So I think with Irv Smith Jr., this is someone that could potentially take a large step forward with the departure of those other tight ends in the same room, with Adam Thielen another year older, possibly seeing less usage in the red zone. And obviously, he's not going to be cutting into the target share for Justin Jefferson, but I'm excited about Irv Smith Jr. going into year 4. Kyron Williams at the 13-11. Kyron Williams, probably a player I'm not going to draft any of this year. There's still someone that I like. Someone that I like on the board. Okay. Slide this over. Tim Patrick at the 13-12. I'm going to scroll through. Please guess in the chat right now what player you think I'm talking about when I'm saying I like them at this pick. I'm going slowly so you can see everybody. Just guess in the chat what player you think I like. Jasmine says Calvin Ridley. Yeah, I loved me some Calvin Ridley a while ago. Mark says, is MVS available? Probably. Thomas says, can't stay. You'll steal mine. Okay, Alan Lazard goes off the board. I think we're taking our first rookie in this draft. We're going Sky Moore here. Sky Moore checks every single box. I was a hater on Sky Moore at the beginning of the offseason. I was saying that he was not a wide receiver you should be ranking drastically over guys like Wan'Dale Robinson or Justin Ross. Well, I've changed my mind with Sky Moore. I think we were wrong at the beginning part of the season. If you look at his profile, this is a wide receiver that does check every box. He broke out as a freshman. He had complete control of that wide receiver room his true junior year, where he accounted for 45% of the team's passing production on a per game basis. On top of this, he declares early he's going to go probably in the top 40, 45 picks of the NFL draft. So we're going to go Sky Moore at the 1404. Like I said, I need to be completely transparent. I looked at his 2020 season alongside Dwayne Eskridge and saw that Dwayne Eskridge dominated him on a per game basis and said, hell, if he can't beat out Dwayne Eskridge, why do we think he's going to be a good NFL wide receiver? That was just horrible analysis on my part. Horrible analysis because Dwayne Eskridge was a 5th-year senior. Sky Moore was a true sophomore. On top of this, Sky Moore played 5 games. So if we're looking at per game numbers, it's too small of a sample to be making drastic conclusions from when he checks every single other box. So I'm happy Sky Moore at the 1404. Okay, so Chris Carson at the 1408. I haven't thought about a running back in this range in a while. I think my favorite running back over the past 3 rounds, obviously he went earlier than all these other players, but even from a value perspective, Ronald Jones. Okay, so Raheem Mostert, let's play another game. Please, in the chat. I need you to guess. I'll tell you right now, Raheem Mostert is either 30 years old or turning 30 this year. I think he's already 30. Raheem Mostert, 30 years old. Can y'all guess how many games Raheem Mostert has had with 20 or more carries in his NFL career? He's 30 years old. Okay. Todd Gurley's 27, just to give you some context. How many games has Raheem Mostert had with 20 or more carries in his NFL career? Balls Live says, get ready for Sky Moore at the 110. JD McKissick at the 1502. Okay, Thomas says 1. Marker Word says 7. JN says 3. If Jasmine says he has like 2 seasons over 30 carries and he's 30 years old. I know it's laughable. Here, I'm including playoff games as well. I'm pretty sure it happened in the playoff game. And that's why everybody likes Raheem Mostert, even though he's nothing. Like, I would prefer Jamal Williams. I prefer JD McKissick. Raheem Mostert. 1 game with over 20 carries. Or 20 carries. He's nothing. He was good in a game for the 49ers in the playoffs that everybody watched. He's getting paid nothing. He has $1 million guaranteed on his contract, which, trust me, if Underdog Fantasy wanted to pay me $1 million guaranteed, that's not nothing. Please, I'll sign up for that every day of the week. But he's an NFL running back. That's not necessarily the situation he's in. He's not live streaming from his apartment. So if we were looking at that team investment, I don't necessarily think that we need to be saying that he is just locked and loaded for a role that we can get excited about. And my God, Wackman on the clock. There are a couple players I'm still excited about. Let's fire this up. Come on. Our team so far, quarterback, we have Joe Burrow, Trey Lance. Hemans goes. Running back, Javonte Williams, Alvin Kamara, Aaron Jones, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yeah, we get him. I believe he hasn't gone. Yeah. We're getting Christian Watson here. Second rookie. But when we're taking these rookies, rounds 14, 15, when these guys are going to go potentially round 1 in the NFL draft, with Christian Watson, the one red flag he has is he stayed all 4 years at North Dakota State, but in 2020, he's the only player I'm willing to give the COVID pass. I've had a lot of people arguing with me going, oh, Mason, you can't hold players staying for all 4 years in college against them this year because it's different. They had COVID in 2020. There was a COVID season. And if you're talking SEC players that had a regular year, no, you're just making excuses. But if we're talking about someone that had to play football in the spring instead of the fall, yeah, no, that's a valid excuse. So Christian Watson, if you ignore that, checks pretty much every single box. He could potentially go to the Kansas City Chiefs at the back half of round 1. I'm not expecting that to happen. I'd probably assume Christian Watson falls to the beginning of round 2. But nonetheless, to get him at the 1509 when his profile is not that different, like some people have him ranked ahead of George Pickens. Like he'll probably go over George Pickens in the actual NFL draft. Ooh, I'm excited about that. Corey says, can you show the draft board? 100%. Let me make this pick and I'll go through and show that draft board. Oh my God. I didn't necessarily love how this draft started, but based on some of these values that we've had near the end, I am very excited about this draft now. Let's keep scrolling down because we're just finding some hidden gems in this ADP. This is what I was discussing, saying I don't like going with 2 elite quarterbacks because, like, I'm saying this with confidence. The quarterbacks here are by far and away the best values, like by far and away. Like when you spend 2 early draft picks on quarterback like this, it is not a good idea to go with the third one. Mathematically speaking, at that point, you want a 2 quarterback build. But when we're getting Mac Jones at pick 184, when I'm having to choose between Mac Jones and Julio Jones, like the opportunity cost just simply isn't there with those quarterbacks. I guess we're going Mac. Like it's not that exciting. But especially if you have Lance, say, going down for 6 weeks of the season, Mac Jones can cover some of those weeks, which is not something you should be drafting for at all in these formats or any format that you're playing in. Because usually the price to do so is way too high. Usually we're having to take a Mac Jones over Sky Moore, over Christian Watson. But here, if we're taking him over Myles Gaskin, hell, I'm fine with it. Okay, yeah, so let me go through and show this draft board for everybody just now coming in. Of course, thank you so much for everybody hanging out with us in the live stream. And if you have not done so yet, please go down there, drop a like on this live stream. And I promise you, we are going to be getting an ungodly amount of these drafts going all offseason. I'm probably going to be doing over 200 of these on the channel. So please make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. Hop into some drafts with us on the live stream. Go get into some drafts with your friends. Go get into some drafts with people in the random lobby, public lobby. And when you go sign up with promo code FLOCK, they'll match your first deposit dollar for dollar up to 100. You'll get our 2022 rankings. You'll get our 2022 Dynasty rankings. You'll get our rookie rankings. You will get our Dynasty research book, well over 100 pages. Like, please take advantage of that. It supports this channel so much as well, and it's a no-brainer. Dominic says, Mason, what do you think about my draft? Ignore the Njoku pick. Okay, so let's go through. Let's check out this draft for Dominic. Here, at the 104, Eckler, love it. A.J. Brown, 209, love it. A.J. Brown, I honestly consider taking him over Alvin Kamara. I think we have to have CeeDee Lamb over him, though. So A.J. Brown, I also probably would prefer Mike Evans, but it is what it is. Like his ADP had him in the early second. Then we have DK Metcalf at the 304. I really don't like this DK Metcalf selection. I mean, going DK Metcalf here over Mike Evans, in my opinion, just makes no sense whatsoever. Mike Evans has outproduced DK Metcalf over the past 3 seasons every single year. Mike Evans is still in his prime. DK Metcalf's situation got worse with Russell Wilson leaving. Mike Evans' situation probably got better with Antonio Brown leaving. I really don't like that pick at the 304. Justin Herbert at the 409. I personally would have gone George Kittle, but I know his ADP has him in line here. Zeke at the 504. I'm fine with it. I mean, I'm not necessarily excited about it, but I'm fine. Darnell Mooney here at the 609. I like it. Cortland Sutton at the 704. Cortland Sutton's going to be going ahead of this in a lot of other drafts, and I'm probably going to be complaining about it. But if you are taking Cortland Sutton compared to guys like Renfro, Robert Woods, Adam Thielen, it's not like I can be yelling that these other wide receivers are so much better. Tony Pollard at the 908. I don't like handcuffing Ezekiel Elliott, especially if we're paying up to do so. Like, I would have definitely preferred, say, go George Kittle here in the 4th, and then here in the in the 8th, instead of going Ezekiel Elliott, go Aaron Rodgers. I think that would have been significantly better. And Njoku, obviously, this was a misclick. I like the Rondale Moore selection. Russell Gage at the 1104. I like it. Ronald Jones, love it. Jarvis Landry, it's neutral. I mean, if we're looking at the other wide receivers next to him, what can I really say? Rachaad White, same thing. I love the profile of Rachaad White. The issue is it looks like he's not going to get the draft capital. Robert Tonyan, I was calling him one of the worst values in drafts last year, but if we were talking about Robert Tonyan now, I mean, it's just a much better situation with no Devontae Adams. And, I mean, people have realistic expectations. I mean, last year, he was being drafted a ridiculously high range based on a touchdown rate that just wasn't sustainable. Maybe we're going with another rookie. Yeah, I think we're going Brian Robinson. Yeah, we kind of need a rookie here. I mean, we kind of need a running back here. I apologize. We don't necessarily need a rookie. Yeah, we're going to go Brian Robinson, pick 201. That is about 26 picks behind his ADP. But at that point, we only had 4 running backs on our roster. It's interesting. I wonder if we can come away with a 2 tight end build with this. Or if we're going to need a 3 tight end build. Marker Word says, I love the Aaron Jones pick. He may be the wide receiver 1 for the Packers this upcoming season. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. I think the target share will go up for Aaron Jones without Devontae Adams. The issue is, I think the trips to the red zone, the overall offensive efficiency will be down just slightly. Crap, you know what I just realized? God dang, our YouTube title was wrong. God, that pisses me off. Okay, Trey McBride at the 17-12. Corey says same for Clyde Edwards-Helaire with Tyreek Hill gone. Obviously, that's not happening. I don't think Tyreek Hill leaving helps Clyde Edwards-Helaire in the slightest. I mean, Tyreek Hill wasn't necessarily a wide receiver commanding a massive target share. Like, Tyreek Hill wins with efficiency. Him leaving, I don't think helps too many players outside of possibly Juju Smith-Schuster and Marcus Valdes-Scantling, obviously. Okay. Now, we don't have to draft a 6th running back. If we like a value that makes it to us, we can. How many wide receivers do we have? We have 7. Yeah, we'll just go Nico Collins. Unless, has something changed with Nico Collins? Has there been Nico Collins news that I'm not aware of? ADP of 167. We're getting him at 208. Maybe there's some Nico Collins news that I'm not aware of. I mean, it's funny that we go back-to-back Houston Texans wide receivers with Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins. I guess this is a team that we're betting on, the Houston Texans, to not go wide receiver in this year's draft. Hayden Hurst goes at the 1805. Braxton Berrios at the 1806. Has Jamison Crowder gone off the board in this draft? I'm assuming so. Yeah, Jamison Crowder went off the board at the 1411. I was going to say Jamison Crowder going over to Buffalo, opening up that role for Braxton Berrios. Dearness Johnson at the 1807. Quez Watkins, name I haven't heard in a while. Sammy Watkins at the 1809. I probably should have gone Sammy Watkins over Nico Collins, especially if we consider the fact that this is best ball and you can see that elite spike week potential with Sammy Watkins in Green Bay. I probably should have gone with Sammy. James Washington, 1811. Here, real quick, I guess what we can actually do. James Cook goes to the 1812. Let's scroll down a bit. This is why I like the fact that Jared Goff is legitimately just free in these drafts. Davis Mills is just free. Jimmy Garoppolo is free. Kenny Pickett's free. Like Jalen Tolbert's going over these guys. That's why I don't love taking those two early quarterbacks, because I feel like you can just get that little free points in your lineup with your last two picks. I'm just seeing if there are any players that are not being drafted according to ADP that I think are interesting. Ooh, Samaje Perine is interesting here, because I'm just looking at it from a perspective of trying to have that unique player in the large best ball format. David Bell goes to the 1903. Really like the David Bell pick. If David Bell would have made it back to us, we would have gone with him. Who else could be interesting in this format? Like that nobody's going to own. Hunter, Mo Alley Cox, Hunter Long, maybe their players are taking long shots on. And obviously not in this league. Tutu Atwell, if he's not being drafted, it's a player worth taking a shot on. I'm just talking about for those large field best ball tournaments with like $1 million, $100,000 at first, where if you have one of those unique players where like you have a Gabriel Davis blow up week at the very end and you're the only guy in the tournament with him on your roster, then all of a sudden you have an easy path to stand out from the crowd and actually win some serious money. Probably going receiver here, I'd imagine. We have 8 receivers. The thing is, do we want to take another tight end in this format when we have Cole? Maybe I'm crazy. I have enough faith in Cole Kmet and Irv Smith Jr. to get it done for us. So we're going to build this team around 6 running backs and 9 receivers. Yeah, so let's go Trey Sermon here. The reason I'm going Sermon is the 49ers don't really have the capital to be able to invest into the running back position this year's NFL draft. So I think Trey Sermon is really locked into that number 2 role in San Francisco, and I don't have to worry about it. And yeah, we're going to go with a receiver to end this. Okay. Yeah, I know what wide receiver we want. You have Jared Goff going at the 1911. And please, let me know what y'all would have done differently with my draft. I kind of want to review it and see where I think we went wrong. There were small mistakes, like I think we should have gone Jerry Jeudy over Michael Thomas. Where we took Burrow, I think the Burrow pick was a mistake, even though he was such a good quote-unquote value. Like, if we go Chris Olave here, maybe that makes a little more sense. I'm sorry, no, Chris Olave went before us. If we go Kadarius Toney or Christian Kirk here, and then we get like Trey Lance and then potentially Russell Wilson on the way back around. Yeah, so we're going to go wide receiver, probably Byron Pringle. Yeah, as it stands, he's the number 2 wide receiver for the Chicago Bears. Maybe we can just get some cheap points in there. But let me show the draft board for anybody just coming in. Of course, thank you all so much for being a part of the flock, supporting the channel. I truly do appreciate y'all. Let me know what y'all think of my team. Let me know how bad of a job you think I did. I promise you we are going to be doing way, way, way more of these. I guarantee you that. So I really am trying to do my best to improve. So please let me know if you think that there's any way that I can. Make sure you go sign up for Underdog Fantasy. And when you sign up for Underdog Fantasy, use promo code FLOCK to get everything that we talked about. And I think that should be it. I hope you have a great day, and I hope we get to see you with the live stream tomorrow.